fifth dimension. I want to give some thoughts on this because I think there's some confusion about this, and I just want to give my ideas. There's many different trains of thought when it comes to this, but I want to essentially give my thoughts on how to move from a 3D experience to 5D experience, which a lot of the planet is starting to do, how you can actually get there, and what I actually believe this to be. So that's coming up next. Before we jump into it, my name is Dave, and this is Heart Space, where I'm creating videos every single day to help you along your heart path. You know, for me, that's helping you from wherever you are right now to the life you really truly want to live from your heart, and helping you bridge that gap through these videos, through my coaching programs, through one-on-one coaching, or whatever service you're using of mine. Even if it's just watching these videos, that is my goal, to help you bridge that gap to there. Also, one thing that's going to help you do that is I have a free course for you down below that's going to help you invite miracles into your life, synchronicity, so much more. That is for free down below. First thing I want to give you about what I believe about 3D to 5D is there isn't, like, I feel like people think like, oh, 3D, 5D, like they're totally different realities, in the sense if I move to 5D, you guys wouldn't even be able to see me, and it's like, oh, he's in 5D, it's a completely different place with completely different people, and etc., 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 and that's not exactly what it is. 5D is available to you right now as much as 3D is. When you think of 3D, it's mostly people who are tethered to just the physical realm. You know, we're in the 3D realm, we're 3D beings, we're physical beings. But it's typically people living in this reality, again, projected from the mind. They're living in this reality based on their beliefs and what they've been conditioned to believe, and they believe in materialism, essentially, and that is base reality. And so people who come from 3D put a lot of emphasis on the physical, not really remembering that they are a divine, infinite, co-created being in a physical body, or a spiritual being that's having a 3D physical experience. But at the core, you are a spiritual being. So people operating from the 3D paradigm are those who put a lot of emphasis on the physical world, believing in materialism, not believing in too much spirituality, or not connecting to their spirit and their soul. Now, that doesn't mean, again, they don't have the potential to really shift their perspective from 3D to 5D, which would be more on that level. But that, in a nutshell, in my eyes, is what 3D represents. It's more the physical world, and people who put the emphasis of what life is on the physical world. It's the kind of person who believes that when they die, that's it, nothing more, they're in the ground. Whatever, soul, that's not a thing. I'm in the ground, and my existence was just a flash in the pan thing here. It's meaningless, and I'm in the ground, I'm dead, right? So that's kind of like, again, there's variations of that kind of belief system, but materialistic beliefs in that sense. That we are simply physical beings, we just are here by happen chance, there's no kind of intelligence or any kind of process of that happening, and it's more emphasis on this physical 3D world, which clearly does exist, at least in our mind's eye, because we're all interacting with it, we can all see it, we can all use our 5 senses, so it's understandable that many people believe that that's all there is. But then there's the 5D experience, and this is when you start to recognize that you are not the body or the mind, that you have a body and a mind, but what you are is something much deeper, much grander, and that you are connected to this. This is when you start to realize you are a spiritual being in a human body. This is when you start to realize you are an energetic being that is simply operating in this avatar, in this meat suit, so to speak. And it's through this that you're able to interact with the physical world, and that's incredible. I mean, the physical world is incredible. It is an amazing, amazing construction, and however you want to think about it being here, it is amazing either way, that we get to occupy these suits, and we, you know, whatever you want to call it, avatar, this body, this whatever it is, we get to occupy this and go through the miracle of growing in this and going through all these different 3D experiences, but you've recognized that it's not base reality. It's not all that is. You are simply a spiritual being for whatever reason, you probably don't remember, but that your soul wanted to come here onto this planet at this particular time, in this particular body, and experience the world in a physical sense, along with a mindful sense and a spiritual sense. And when you tap more into the 5D, you understand that it all emanates from the spirit and all that is. You start to understand that you are actually awareness. You are not the body or the mind. You start to actually understand that you are all that is. That is what you are connected to, and that is where you have come from to then come into this experience. You know, from one of my favorite books, Conversations with God, one of the quotes, or I don't have the exact quote on me, but essentially God in that book says, you are me experiencing myself through the physical world. I wanted to experience God, and I couldn't do that without not knowing God. bringing us into the world of duality, because the physical world is dualistic. We come, however, from oneness. We come, however, from all that is, from where everything else comes out. And so in order to experience that which we are, we also have to experience that which we are not. And so that's where this physical experience comes in. We get to pick and choose what we want to experience. Hot, cold, left, right, up, down. We can experience happiness and sadness. We can experience anger and calm, all of these different things. And when you become very intentional and you tap more into what you actually are and understand, oh, I'm a spiritual being in a human body, you start to actually be able to choose more of the experiences that you actually wish to experience. And the ones that are higher on the consciousness scale are much more aligned and in resonance with that which you actually are. And when you start realizing that, you start to deliberately choose, at least most people do who I know actually go through this, they start to choose, I want to feel peace more often, I want to feel gratitude, I want to connect more to what I actually am more often. So that's why I didn't title this How to Get to 5D. Like, it's something you have to get. Like, you have to climb this mountaintop, and at the top of the mountain, it's 5D, and it's like this orb or something, and you're like, oh my god, 5D, zoom, it's like a video game, and now you're suddenly 5D. No, it's just shifting into 5D. It's already there. It's simply an awareness. It's simply a perspective. It's simply understanding what you actually are. It's really a realization that you are awareness and you are connected to everything. Again, the 3D experience is very much more the experience of separation, of relativity, right? And again, that is something we can experience, and I would argue we are here for a reason, so we're meant to experience, but I don't think it's necessary for us to experience that with the lack of knowing where we actually come from and what we actually are. And that helps us not get sucked into the 3D experience game of thinking we're just a body or a mind, or thinking that we are, our external circumstances, or we are our things, or we are even our identity, right? Like, I am an athlete, or I am a teacher, or I am a mother, or I am a father. Yes, you can identify with those things, but again, from a higher perspective, you are not those things. You are not limited by any label that you give yourself, because you are everything, and then you come into this 3D experience to choose what you want from everything. You are essentially the awareness that is aware of all of it. And that's sometimes a little bit silly, but if you really notice, like when a feeling or a thought comes up or an identity, if you ask a question like, am I aware? And you start becoming the awareness that is looking at these things instead of attaching yourself to things, you'll start to notice you're actually not those 3D constructs that you've been led to believe. And this is a great question you can ask yourself when these things start popping up. Just ask yourself, am I aware right now? Am I aware? And you ask that question, start tuning into the awareness that you actually are, like when a certain thought comes up and you're attaching yourself to it, or a certain emotion comes up and you're attaching yourself to it, or any kind of 3D experience comes up and you start kind of judging it or creating some kind of attachment to it through judgment, through comparison, whatever else it is. Ask yourself, am I aware? And start to see yourself separate your identity from this thing. Because that's when we get more connected to the three-dimensional world, the limited world, is when we start believing that's what we are. All right, so those are my thoughts on shifting from 3D to 5D. I mean, there's many different kind of trains of thought, again, when it comes to this. But if you want some more signs that you are actually awakening